Hi, welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week I'm going to take a short look at post-impressionism. It was a period in art history, in French art history. So we're at sort of latter two decades or so of the 19th century. Impressionism has kind of faded a little bit. And you have a new generation of younger artists coming up who they are inspired by Impressionism, but they want to kind of do their own thing. So that period is often referred to as post-impressionism. On the screen you can see an old photograph. Photography was becoming more common at that time period. But an old photograph. In the bottom right hand corner we can see two men sitting at a table perhaps. One of the men facing us, his name is Emile Benard. He was one of the artists associated with post-impressionism. The other man, so we can't see his face, his back is turned to us. Some people claim or suggest that this is Vincent van Gogh. It's possible because we know that they were friends and they remain friends right up until the end of Vincent's life. They often corresponded together. So it is possible. And we also know that Vincent van Gogh was very camera shy. He didn't like cameras. He didn't like photography. Didn't like having his photograph taken. So there are a few photographs floating around where people say this is Vincent van Gogh in the photograph, but we don't really know. In his adult life, there's very, very few, if any, photographs of him. But anyway, this is a possibility. And the point is that, there's a group of young artists who are hanging out together in Paris. This is about 1886. They were exchanging ideas and having debates, I'm sure, about art. And there were a number of them at that time. So Emile Benard, Vincent van Gogh, Henri Toulouse-Lautrec was hanging about at that sort of time as well. Gauguin and a few others as well. We have another old photograph. The man on the left of the photograph with the beard sitting sort of sideways to us and his legs outstretched. That is Emile Benard. And then opposite him on the other side of the table with the sort of, headband type of thing, that is Gauguin. And then the man sitting behind the table with the beard, smoking a pipe, again, some people say this is Vincent van Gogh. So I guess the point is we don't really know. There weren't very many photographs taken of him. We only have the self-portraits to know what he looked like. These old photographs are very grainy and things, but there is the possibility this was Vincent. And I say these artists did hang out together. They did attend sometimes the same art ateliers, and they learned together and they exchanged ideas. Some of the ideas that came out of post-impressionism include divisionism, sometimes called pointillism. Another one is Cloisonnism. Now, Cloisonnism is not as well known, but it is worth taking a look at. It's an interesting idea. So Cloisonnism is a style of post-impressionist painting with bold flat forms separated by dark contours. And you can see an example image on screen. And this image was painted by Emile Benard, and it's one of many, many images that he sent to Vincent van Gogh. Let's say during their lifetime, they often corresponded. They were living in different parts of France, really opposite ends of France, but they did correspond a lot. And Emile Benard did send Vincent lots of little drawings and small watercolors and things. I think he valued Vincent's sort of feedback on these images. Vincent was a bit older than Emile, about 10 years or more. But in terms of their art career, they were about the same sort of level. On the right, you can see a portrait of Emile Bernard. He is the artist most associated with this idea of Cloisonnism. Well, there's a bit of debate. Gauguin also used this technique, and Vincent also used it, but Vincent probably picked it up from, as I said, the paintings and drawings sent to him by Emile Bernard. The portrait was painted by Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. On the left, you can see another image, one of these images again that Emile sent Vincent. And again, you can see the idea of the sort of flat color and the dark outlines. It reminds me of the Japanese woodblock prints, the ukiyo-e, that were very popular at this time. They became popular at least a decade earlier during the Impressionist period. People like Claude Monet collected some Japanese woodblock prints. And we know that Vincent van Gogh was very strongly influenced by this Japanese art form. But anyway, that idea of the dark outlines, it reminds me of sort of printed artwork, and does remind me of the Japanese ukiyo-e. A couple more images by Emile Bernard. Again, on the right, one of these images that he sent Vincent, and on the left is a painting that I think is definitely influenced by Gauguin. Like Gauguin, Emile Bernard spent quite a bit of time in Brittany, and he often painted women wearing their traditional costumes. But definitely that painting on the left looks as though it was probably influenced by Gauguin. The use of colours and things. I've in the past played around with Cloisonnism a little bit. I don't use it in landscape paintings, but I have used it in sort of still life, floral still life paintings. So both of these are watercolors, but you can see I've used the darker outline, at least in some places anyway. It's an interesting idea. It's something you can play about with. Like I say, it's not one of the better known art isms, but it is worth having a look at and playing around with, experimenting. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and listening. Hopefully see you again in 2 weeks' time.